going, and make sure we, again, are respectful of everyone's time. I want to start this evening and say that I'm really excited to have all of you join us. Marcus and I are going to co-host this evening, this webinar. We're excited to bring this to you and really talk about some new offerings that we have at Clarity. So some of you on this call may be clients and partners with us already, and some of you may be here tonight to learn about what exactly we do and how we can help you. But for everyone on the call, we're going to be talking about some new things that are going to be new to you, and how we can really help you optimize your practice, no matter what type of medical practice you are. So I'm the VP of Practice Development. My name is Lindsay Shaw, and my co-host tonight is Marcus Hackler. He's our Chief Creative Officer, and responsible for a lot of things here at Clarity. And so we're going to co-host tonight and, again, share with you effective sales strategies and lead capture strategies for your medical practice. So let's jump in and get started. I'm going to kick it off this evening. And let me see if my presentation will work here. All right. Again, effective sales strategy and lead capture strategies for your practice. We're going to get into that this evening, and we're really going to talk about how we can help you implement these things in your practice. So my background is, I've been in healthcare for 20 years, 15 of that in healthcare administration. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the sales piece this evening and the sales trainings that we offer. And what I can share with you is that no matter what type of healthcare practice I was in, whether it was the hospital setting, private practice, cash pay, insurance pay, in all of those settings, one of the major things that everyone needs to be doing is investing in your team and their training. It's absolutely going to be the best investment you can make. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important to introduce your team to sales training. So number one, it comes down to customer experience. You want to make sure that you are offering an amazing experience to everyone who walks through the door. We can't always expect that to be something that everyone is naturally good at and understands, but it is something that is going to be able to set us apart from our competitors. And this is really important. And depending on what type of medical practice you have and where that practice is located, setting yourself apart from your competitors is a vital part of your success. We also want to make sure that we are ensuring the financial health of our practice. Well, the best way to do that is making sure we consistently are making sales and having revenue come into our practice. And really what happens a lot is we hear, well, I'm in medicine, I want to help people, I'm not salesy. But what I want to share with you tonight is that our philosophy is not to be salesy either. It's really about listening to your patients and what their concerns are and making sure that we're giving them great outcomes. And we do that through utilizing comprehensive treatment plans and, in some types of practices, product regimens for at-home care or supplementation. And this, for some of you and your teams, may be a big shift. But really what this comes down to is understanding how to communicate your unique value proposition and how to credential your practice, the providers in it, the techniques that you use, the services that you offer, and making sure that our team really goes through and learns great customer service training. So I want to challenge all of you to think about how you currently measure success. Do you know these things? Do you know how many leads are coming into your practice? How many people are reaching out to you by phone, by web, on your social media? What are the sources of those leads? Are they coming from Google? Is it Facebook? Did they hear from a friend? Or they been referred by another provider in your area? Do you know what your conversion rate is? So when someone does reach out to your practice, do they convert to an appointment? And then if they do come in for that appointment, do you know what your conversion rate to purchase is? Do you know how much you're spending on your marketing? Do you know what your lead acquisition cost is? Do you know what your patient acquisition cost is? These are things that you need to know in your practice. And if you don't know, how are you going to be able to improve? If you need to improve, where do you start? Well, you start by training your team and looking at the data. And that's what we're going to talk to you about this evening. So, the Clarity platform offers across multiple verticals, no matter what type of medical practice you are in, we have customer service and sales training available for you. But it's our philosophy that sales training comes from a patient-centric place, which means, again, we're not here to be salesy and pushy. We are here to put a focus around the patient and make sure that we're focused on why they came into your practice. It's important for us to understand the patient's needs and concerns. And it's our job as providers, as front desk people, as managers, everyone in the practice. We need to make sure that we communicate well and that we build trust and rapport with these patients. Our sales training and customer service training focuses around using open-ended questions to help us in this process. So through the trainings, your team will learn the definition and examples of open-ended questions that are appropriate for your type of patients. How to use these open-ended questions to encourage the patients to share more information. It's important that as we are talking to these patients, that we dig a little deeper, that we don't just ask them a surface question and move on. We don't just ask them a yes or a no question and keep on moving. We need to dig a little deeper, keep finding out more information. We also teach your team strategies for effectively integrating those open-ended questions into the conversation with the patient. We don't want it to feel robotic or uncomfortable or awkward. So we focus again on how do we communicate and build that trust and rapport through good listening and communication skills with the patients. Through this, we're going to really dig deep into what the patient's concerns are, and then we can use that information to leverage successful sales by really determining what it is that they need from us and how we can solve their problems. So we go through teaching your team about active listening techniques that help identify the patient concerns. We talk about tailoring solutions and recommendations based on the patient's specific needs. Our goal here is to build long-term relationships with patients, and we do that through making sure they feel heard and that they are getting great outcomes. Our sales training comes in 4 modules. We focus in first on the fundamentals. Through that module, you're going to get an introduction to sales. You're going to get sales fundamentals. We're going to talk a little bit about following up with the patient, which is vitally important. In the second module, we focus in on your front desk team. This is the first impression that most of your patients are getting of your practice. So it's important that they are well trained and that they understand the importance of their job. So we're going to talk to them about the types of leads that come into your practice. We're going to focus in on how to specifically handle phone leads that come in, and specifically how to handle web leads. And then we're going to talk to them about patient engagement. We're going to focus in on how to use the Clarity engagement module to share patient journeys and teach your patients more information about what they're interested in even prior to coming to the practice. Once we get into the consultation, we're going to teach your team about conducting a successful consultation. We're going to talk to them about different personality types of the patients and how we can tailor our communication style to meet them where they are. Let them feel heard, build that relationship with them. All of this is done through the layer communication method, and we go over in detail how to use this method to ask more open-ended questions, listen to the patients, and explore further until we have all the information we need to respond. And finally, we have a 4th module for advanced sales training. In this module, we go a little bit deeper into talking about what is your unique value proposition in your practice. How are you setting yourself apart? Why should someone choose you over your competitors? We're going to talk about credentialing your practice. This is really important. It goes right along with your unique value proposition. But we need to not just credential the practice, but the providers and the procedures that we offer. In this module, we also get into some objection handling. So it's inevitable that we're going to run into some tough questions when we have patients in that room with us. We want your team to be able to answer these questions very easily, feel comfortable in that situation. We're also going to focus in on how to use features and benefits of the procedures that you offer to help patients realize the right pathway and buy into that treatment plan that you are recommending. And finally, how do you evaluate the success of your practice? This is really important. So it's not just about training our team, but it's also about measuring the success and the change and optimizing that patient experience and in turn, increasing the revenue that's coming into our practice. These modules also have a lot of bonus items available. So we have a lot of downloadable assets, a lot of templates and scripts that your team can download and tailor to your practice. We have a number of exercises that go along with each of these modules to help your team put into practice what we are talking about. Role playing is vitally important. So many times we're very focused on clinical training of our team and making sure they stay on top of what's cutting edge and that they're getting the latest trainings. And that is super important. But we cannot neglect the rest of our team and what comes with customer service. We have to work at that too. And that comes from practicing. So role playing with your team is going to be really important. These modules give you an opportunity to listen through some role playing so that your team then can work together to really hone their skills. One of the greatest things about all of this training is that it's self-guided and it's available to your team 24/7. So it doesn't matter where you are, how busy you are, when the time comes that they have a half an hour or 2 hours available to sit down and work on these trainings. Our trainings are built in small modules, just a few minutes for each segment, so that they can get through it, absorb that in a quick amount of time, and they can go back and rewatch them as many times as needed. So I will definitely answer some questions later on in the presentation if you have them about sales training, but at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Marcus, and he's going to talk to you about the lead capture engine.
Thanks, Lindsay. One question while you're unshare, and then I'll share mine so I can drive the presentation. How is a practice, how can I ensure that my team is doing the training, that I can see their progress?
Yeah.
How is there a view that I have that helps me understand where they're at in their training, or where they might get stuck, or if
Yeah,
they're even doing it at
that's
all?
yeah, that's a great question, right? Every manager and owner wants to know how they're going to be able to keep track of that. Our platform has an administrative portal, so everyone that signs up with us has an administrator, a super user. They're going to be able to assign users, assign trainings, and they're going to be able to monitor everyone's access, while each of your employees will only see their own progress and their own information. We also have a report that goes out at the end of every week that lets you know the progress of your team. As your team is going through the trainings, though, the module also monitors how far into the module they are. We understand that people are very busy and they're going to have to come and go sometimes in these trainings. So it does hold your progress and you can pick up where you left off. So not only do you get to monitor your own progress, but our super user, which is often a manager or an owner, they're going to be able to
Right.
log in and see progress. And we also have the reporting.
That's great. And it's not that we don't trust our team members to
Yeah.
do things right. It's just that we want to be able to as leaders, help them get unstuck and just see where they're on their progress.
Absolutely. And Marcus, one of the things I share with practices all the time is that I'm really an advocate for actually kind of going through the process initially as a team together. And we kind of say, okay, by next Friday, let's all get through this part of the training so we can get back together. We can talk about it. We can role play. We can share what we took away from it. This really helps us develop our skills and also implement it into the practice. And so when we are able to monitor that progress, it just helps us stay on top of doing it together as a team. And to your point, if somebody is struggling somewhere or getting stuck somewhere, we're going to be able to help them out.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm obviously we'll have questions later. I'm here to talk about the other side of the coin, patient education. And some of you may be familiar, and I'm not sure if how many of you are from aesthetics and how many of you from ocular. But one of the great things about this new training that we've released is that it serves both markets, not just aesthetics, not just ocular. It's new to ocular as far as our offerings are concerned, but it also trains on this patient education piece that I'm going to go through as well. We have a module specifically to that. So what I show you tonight, it's like, oh man, I really want the recording. There's a whole section in the training that covers this in detail. So first of all, let's start at the beginning. Patient education, it's thrown around a lot. It's like, yeah, we need better educated patients. I've got some data to show you what kind of difference it actually makes that I'll share a little bit later. But when we're talking about converting to consultations, converting to purchases, like those metrics are absolutely important. But there's a lot of other things around patient education that aren't necessarily direct to your monetary bottom line. First of all, you're addressing real concerns before a patient even steps foot into your consult room. And so alleviating fears, sort of the emotion or of anxiety or wondering about unknowns. If we're giving people the information, the correct information, before they really when they're most interested in it, and before we even see them, the conversation starts from a different place. And so I've seen so many patients that have come through practices that they got up their information from YouTube or from Google, and there's just a lot out there to process. Some of it's correct, some of it's not. Some of it stokes some of those negative feelings. And so if we can alleviate that experience on the front end of it, then the patient's going to come in much more receptive and willing to engage into a meaningful dialogue about their goals, about what ultimately what the outcome that they want, which is going to give you a better picture, to your point earlier, Lindsay, about asking those open-ended questions. Those two things really work hand in hand, because you have somebody who's primed to have the conversation and is willing to answer those open questions, and then you're getting the information that you actually need, to Lindsay's earlier point. So the way that the solution that we offer to help with this inpatient education, we call them journeys, but really they're a series of videos. And so each one of our journeys, and that's just the marketing term, is the CMO. Great, it's a marketing term. We try to differentiate our own product. It's a series of videos that are delivered by text message to patients at a certain point in time, whether that is when they're inquiring through a web form, or they're calling in to ask for information or to book a consult, and they talk with one of your front desk staff, and then they have the ability to send that specific information out to them. But it's a series of short videos. They're short intentionally because, first of all, we don't want to overwhelm people with too much information. We want to give them a break before we move on to the next topic, especially if there's a lot of things to cover. And then just in general, people prefer shorter videos. Sort of the average tolerance of online videos, which is probably less now with TikTok, has been classically around 2 minutes. That's stats that you can get from Google and YouTube on their user activity. It gets longer if you have somebody who's hyper interested in a subject, so people will go further for longer. This is the whole podcasting revolution that's happened over the past few years. People will sit and watch a 2 or 3 hour long form conversation, but they're highly interested in that content. They really want to go deep. And we have other opportunities for that with other content that we do within workshops and master classes and things like that. But for patients specifically, we want to keep it short. We want to keep it brief. We know they don't have a lot of time, so we want it to be convenient for them. And the way it's delivered, the patient receives a text message, and it contains a unique link that is tied just to them, that goes directly to a page with the video on it. And then they can choose to continue through that journey by hitting a next button and continuing to watch the videos. All right, next slide. Barry, you're not working. Maybe the button will work. Okay. So as I stated, the videos, they're really focused on providing the most relevant information to that topic. What they can expect for outcomes, available options. We even talk about financing. It's really important because we're trying to set expectations on the front end, and particularly when we have, cash-based situations. Whether that, obviously that's aesthetics for the majority of it. In ocular, when we have premium products or premium lenses and things like that, if somebody knows ahead of time that this is going to be an out-of-pocket expense, then they can sort of mentally and emotionally prepare for that conversation. It's sort of a misnomer to think, oh, if we talk about money, they're never going to come in. That's not really true, because they have a desire already. There is an expectation. It would be better to just tell them up front that they're going to have to address this in some sort of way. And so we provide, we talk about it. We talk about financing options, a range of them. We also have content that talks specifically to PatientFi, to CareCredit, to Cherry, some of the more popular financing companies out there, to inform them of those available options. And when you sign up with us, and when you have the engagement module, part of the onboarding process is we'll ask that question, which do you want to feature one of these, or do you want something just generic, which we also have. The episodes are sent on a daily basis, and if a patient stops watching for whatever reason, let's say they have a 5-episode journey and they stop at episode 3, the next day they're going to get a link to episode 4, reminding them to pick up where they left off. So our technology knows where they're at in that process and will prompt them to continue to watch. The biggest feature of this is that they don't have to download an app. They don't have to log in anywhere. They don't have to create a username and password. All they need is just to click on the link that is sent to them. So it's really that simple. And it's really helpful because, we all go through, when we sign up for something. I mean, I was signing up for some service the other day, and it was just like, oh, this is a drag. I got to put name, email, the CAPTCHA thing. You want this information. I got to go to my email box. I got to open that up and make sure this email is active. Like, just there's a lot of steps. We want to be able to provide access to this information as quickly as possible, right when they are most interested in consuming it, because that's when they're really going to learn and start to be able to use that information to make decisions. Lots of polls popping up. So there are 5 ways that these journeys can be sent. The first way is a QR code. We all use QR codes all the time now, right? COVID taught us that we can look at a menu with a QR code. We leverage that QR code. You can use that in office collateral. You can even use it in out-of-home advertising, or let's say you're in a magazine or some physical space. QR code's great. The second way is a web form. So each journey will have an associated web form that you can put on your website. And so you can just take that web form that we provide, you'll have access to on your account. You put it on your website, and the patient who's interested, they can put their name and their phone number in there, start themselves on the journey, and then that information will come to it'll be available to you within the platform. We'll talk more about that later when we get to the lead capture and lead management stuff. The third way is manual. And, there's a lot of people that you look at this and go, oh, it's an extra step. It's extra effort to, log into a portal and to put information in and send it to somebody. And I totally get it. It really is literally less than 5 seconds to do it. And the most optimal time to do it is really when you're talking to patients on the phone. So when you're asking those open-ended questions and you're trying to understand what the patient's needs are and goals are, and they say, oh, well, I'm really interested in such and such. Well, that matches this journey that I can send on skincare, or I can send on dry eye, whatever it happens to be. And would you allow me to send this to you right now? Sure. Just give me your name and your phone number, and in a few seconds, the text message will be in your app, and you'll be able to watch this right after we get off the call. And so that is a very effective way. And it actually has the highest level of engagement because there's a personal request that's made of the recipient to watch the videos. The fourth way is what we call integration. And so we integrate with a number of practice management and electronic medical health record systems where if a patient comes in and that record changes, it will automatically talk to our system and send a journey to that patient, depending upon the set of conditions. There are a number of ways we can do this, and I don't want to get super technical on this webinar, but that is probably the best way because it's still at the right moment in time, but no human has to intervene with it. Some practices choose to stay manual because they like that personal touch, but honestly, to really optimize your operations, if we can do it in an integrated way and let technology talk to technology to facilitate that function and automate it, it's much better for everybody in the long run. And the last way is something new. And this is something that we've been asked about quite a bit. And there is a company that we are starting a pilot with called Vertly. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Vertly, their previous name was Friend Media. I think folks in the aesthetic space are going to be more familiar with this company. But what they do is they allow content to be, they manage the content that is played on the TVs in your office, whether that's the lobby room or the treatment room. And they make it really, really simple. They used to have this little like Amazon Fire, HDMI stick that you would have to use. It was kind of cumbersome. They've gone away from that. They actually now have smart apps on all of the TV app stores. So if you have a Roku device or if you have a Fire Stick, they just have an application now that you can download and install on your TV, and then you have a portal which you can select what content you want to be displayed. It's really, really slick, and we're partnering with them to make this patient education content, these journeys available wherever you feel like it's going to be most effective for your practice. So say you have people waiting in the lobby and they are, they're waiting for their consultation or they're waiting for their appointment. And, the 30-second ads come up that says, would you like to learn more about whatever the procedure, whatever the category is? There'll be a QR code that is associated with that video and with your practice. And they can scan that QR code. What we will provide in the reporting is we'll be able to show you the difference between whether they came in through a web form, whether they came in through a Vertly QR code, whether they came from a push from your portal, and then you can start to evaluate those results and see which one is most effective over time. So that we were starting a pilot now. We're not ready to formally release this to the market, but we did want to give all of you a heads up to say this is coming. For those of you who wanted to make patient education content available in your practice, this is coming, and we're working really diligently on a treatment room option. So say somebody is getting CoolSculpting and they're going to be there for a while. Well, how can we continue to leverage these journeys to help educate them about other things that are available to them? Journeys can also be customized, and I think this is really important. When somebody receives some sort of communication from you, you want to know it's from you. And the best way to do that is to have what we call a personalized video introduction from your provider, the person who is representing the practice. We make it super easy. And so we have like a little self-filming kit that we work with you to obtain. And then we have our video producers that will get on a call and walk you through everything. This literally, we have everything that you need in order to pull this off. And I know that Dr. Poor is on the call tonight, and she's done a great job, her staff, her and Delaney. And so some of you have taken advantage of that. It's a great way to not just personalize, but it's also a good opportunity to credential. So yes, we want to credential her on the phone, but when we have opportunities to credential in other areas of the experience, we can say our years of experience, we could talk about our specialties. That's also a great opportunity to set an impression in the patient's mind about what they can expect. And I have a video here. I think we're going to make this available later, so I won't play it for time. There's other ways that you can customize it, where you can go full on custom, do your own videos. We do all that too. We work with you individually in order to determine what the fee structure would be for that. We do everything we can to make it as cost effective as possible. I'll let you know that. We've got techniques that we've developed over the years for that. When it comes to, I'm going to focus specifically on ocular for a few moments because this is something that's new that we're bringing to the market right now. And so, for those of you in the ocular market, previously we've really been known for having journeys related to cataracts specifically, and we want to let you know that there's a lot more available when it comes to the patient education for other procedures and other opportunities. Cataracts, yes, we do have cataracts for advanced technology lenses. There is a journey that is branded for Alcon that carries a subsidy with that. Should talk to our salespeople when you inquire about that. But we also have an unbranded version of that that doesn't prefer any sort of manufacturer. We just recently partnered with RxSight for creating a journey for light adjustable lenses, and that's the only product of its kind in the market. But yet we're still going to do an unbranded version because we want some longevity in case other competitors come around and you just want to be able to talk about light adjustable lenses without a brand associated with it. Same thing with LASIK. We have something that's Alcon sponsored and we have something that's generally unbranded. Vision correction options. Not everybody just does LASIK, so we want to cover the other refractive procedures as well. We also have a partnership with Star Surgical, which carries the Evo ICL. That was new in the past couple years. So we have a series on that. And then for just real general education, now you want somebody to know about macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy. We have videos on that as well, so people can learn about that ahead of that appointment. And the last one is optometric vision care. So this covers more of the retail side. So for those of you who are optometrists, or those of you who work with the surgeon but have an optometry component to your practice, this is where we cover transition lenses, contact lenses, second set of glasses, coatings, filters, the kind of range of retail opportunities that a patient could know about ahead of meeting their provider for their annual eye exam. So that sets the conversation up. Again, for time, I want to be mindful. So if we have any questions at the end, there's a video in here that shows a sample of this. But really, if you're really interested in this content, we have links that we can provide where you can watch all of it. It's on our website. You can go in detail and watch all of the videos and make sure that they're right for your practice. When I get into metrics, this is where we have been at in ocular. We're starting to see the same thing in aesthetics. When it comes to engagement, this chart here represents what people did at each step. So at the first step, you receive a text message. Well, everybody receives a text message, so that metric is 100% because text messages don't go undelivered from our vantage point. The next step for this particular use case is an opt-in step. So the recipient is asked to reply why if they would like to continue. And so in this case, 62.46% of people who were asked that question did so. They replied why they wanted to continue. So in that group of 62.46%, in that group, the next metric, the question we asked is, did they watch anything? Did they do anything? They replied yes, cool, but did they do anything? They watched any percentage of any video. That number came back at 82.44%. Then we asked the question, okay, that same group, how many of them watched at least 3/4 or more of the video? And that was 74.85%. Then the last question was, right, we're like myth busting this thing. Like, let's take it to the extreme. How many people watched 100%? And then we can see that stat is 73.16%. So this is a highly engaged group of people who are very vested, have very vested interest in learning about how to get the best outcome for their goals, for their health. And I should mention this data set covers 150,000 patients. So this isn't plucked some little sample that's plucked from a subset of a subset in order to get, this is all patients for the entirety of this program that we've been running it, that we're getting this metric. So we didn't leave anything out, just in case anybody's wondering. Now, how does that translate to profitability, right? What our mission, right, at Clarity is that we want to help practices become more profitable in the end. Well, this use case is specific to cataracts, and it's specific to people choosing to upgrade to a premium offering, which is a premium cataract lens, versus staying with something that insurance would pay for. So they have a choice to make. I can stay with something that's not going to cost me anything out of pocket, or I can upgrade for a better outcome for a set amount of dollars, which we told them about before in advance, right? So what does that conversion rate look like prior to the program being introduced into their practice? And what does it look like after? We did a study of 20 practices for about 6 months prior, 6 months after, and these are the results. And then it's going to look pretty tough to read, but I do have a summary slide that'll show you. You can kind of see it's all over the map. Some practices have a big gap in that bar, right? They go from 29 to 42%. And some practices are smaller, right? Every practices are different. But you can see that across the board, with no change in volume of procedures, we're talking about same volume year over year, the premium services, the upgrades that they experience by introducing this patient education program, every single one of them grew, whether that's small, whether that's large. And if we average all of that up, the average growth average across that entire group was well over 50%. And so it stands to reason that patient education has an impact on the profitability of your practice. And as I mentioned before, that's not exclusively the reason. We know that, right? What we're ultimately after is the best outcome for the patient. And the best outcome oftentimes is something that they will need to pay extra for. That's just given the system that we're in, and reimbursements and all of those things. And or if you're in aesthetics, it's the vast majority of it's cash pay. But the opportunity that we have here is to really provide the best outcome that we can, and then everybody wins as a result. All right, so bringing it home here, last piece here, analytics and insights. So Lindsay alluded to it earlier when we're talking about lead management and capturing these leads. With this engagement module, you get 3 reports. You get the first one's called a journey activity report, and I'll show you examples of each one of these. The second one is called a 12-week trend report, or a look back, you'll see it referred to. And the last one is what we call the lead capture engine, and that one provides engagement activity at an individual patient level for one-on-one follow-up. And why is that important? Well, right, the fortune is in the follow-up, as you would learn in our training. The first one is just kind of a high-level view. I just want to see on a month-by-month basis how many people have been sent a journey, how many of those people played a video, and what's the average percentage of a video that they watched, right? So just kind of a gut check. Like, are we sending things out? For you as a manager, it's a really good view into knowing that things are moving, things are happening, right? And so you can see 83 were sent, 79 played a video, and the 96%, it's the average percentage of the videos that recipients watch. So that's highly performing, right? The next one is what we call the 12-week trend report. And this one shows the sources and trends over time, the recipients who received a journey every week. So this is dating back 12 weeks. So then right now, this particular practice is only using a QR code. If you have multiple ways that you were sending journeys out, you would see other lines here: integration, portal, web form, right? So when Lindsay's referring to, do you know where your leads are coming from, right? This is kind of that lead source picture, like what's working over time. And if you can see trends up or down, well, then where do you want to spend more time, or where do you want to focus on when it comes to sending journeys? Do I feel like the integration path is the best? Do I feel like the portal is the best? And then you can use that in combination with the previous report to see what your engagement level is. So if the engagement level is low, and then this other metric is trending in a certain direction, you can start to ascertain changes you might want to make in your operation in order to optimize those. And the last one is the lead capture engine. And this one, it can be kind of hard to see, but this one is in the platform, we call it the individual recipient report. And what that does is everybody who sent a journey will have at least their cell phone number, depending upon the method of which they received a journey. So at least their cell phone, but more than likely their first name and their mobile number, what method it was started, what journey it was, how many episodes were in that journey, and then how far did they get towards completion. And right now, you can't see the names and numbers because those are actual real people, and we can't show that to you. I made up a name and a phone number so that I could show it. These little icons here, we mask the name and the phone number intentionally, so we can comply with HIPAA and privacy laws. We don't want any sort of PII inadvertently being exposed to people who shouldn't be seeing it. So when you get in there, it'll be masked, but you just click the little I button and it will reveal it. And that's great for when you're on the phone. I'm going to call this person next. Click name, phone number. I know it's Robert. I know you watched the standard cataract procedure. You didn't do anything with it, so we're going to have a conversation, Robert. It's just my demo. But that gives you that information right there to be able to process it as you're going through those leads in the follow-up process. So this is a great opportunity. It's a great way to be able to have everything organized in one place, and you can just start working down the list and make sure that everybody has been touched for follow-up that needs it. The last thing I'll mention is integrations. Back to that conversation, we have a number of platforms that we integrate directly with. That means that machines talking to machines and things happen automatically. That's great. We also, if you have a practice management or EMR that's not listed on here, we have another method of integration that we call EDET. It's something that we invented where we can leverage any practice management system through an automation. We just have to get with you on a technical basis to set it up. Once it's set up, though, it's set it and forget it, and it just happens automatically. And again, we want to be able to get this in your hands and get this working in your practice as efficiently as possible so that you can realize the benefit of being able to have better educated patients who then ultimately make better educated decisions and have a better overall experience in your practice. Lindsay?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marcus. I think I learn something new every time I watch you present that information. So, I think one of the things that when you're looking at that individual recipient report, can you share a few of the different ways that that report can be filtered? Because I know that people often want to see how a certain journey is maybe performing. Maybe it's something new that they're offering and they're trying to see if people are watching it. So what are the different ways that they can sort that report?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the best ways I think to sort the report. So each one of those columns, let me just bring that image back up for a second. If I was in the actual platform, I would demonstrate it to you. But if you just click the top of a column, that column will sort either ascending or descending.
Okay.
So for instance, if I were to select, journey name, it would group all of the journey names from alphabetical order down. So if you're like, okay, let's say I'm an aesthetic practice and I want to sort, let's say I'm a surgical aesthetic practice and I want to be able to call all the people who inquired or sent a journey on breast augmentation. That would group breast augmentation. And then mass defexia would be below that, and revision would be below that. So you could kind of, have your talk track for those specific people who are interested in that procedure along the way. You could also, my favorite way to do it, probably the easiest way is date sent, right? You want to kind of see the newest people first, right? So you're going to sort descending by date. You just click it. It has the down arrow, and all the most recent people are there. You want to follow up with them when it's the highest relevancy. Journey complete percent is probably one of my favorite ones, because if you sort that by the descending, you're going to get the people who have gone furthest in the journey. And so that they're the most engaged with the content. They're the most interested. Well, you want to be able to capitalize on that interest and continue that conversation, and be able to follow through, get that consultation, and help them get closer to the goal. You'll also see at the top here, you have a date field, you have a search function. So, whose name? I know I talked to Robert.
Right.
It's been a few weeks. Yeah, that's right. I needed to follow up with him. I could search him up. I could get his number really quickly. You can filter by these other drop-down fields here. Start method. You can say, I only want to look at people that I sent from push portal. I only want to look at people that I sent from integration. And then you could also filter by journey. So yes, you can sort, but maybe I only care about, EVO ICL. because we're running a promotion or something at this point where they may get a manufacturer discount for a certain period of time. I really want to hone in on those people. So it's searchable, it's sortable, it's you can apply filters, and then obviously you can clear them and everything will return to a default.
Awesome. Thank you. I know this was something that a lot of our clients shared a lot of feedback on that helped drive what the development of that looked like. And so that's been a really exciting, I think, tool for our teams to be able to use. And I think too, kind of marrying these two things together that you and I talked about, one of the great things is you mentioned these people come in more educated into that consultation, right? And in our customer service and sales training, we focus on how to do a great consultation, how to be efficient, right? This is all part of that. When they come in, I hear people often say, okay, this is really great information about how to do a consultation and the open-ended questions. But how do I make that efficient where I'm not spending 2 hours with a patient? Right? We can't do
Right.
that. That doesn't work on our schedule. And this is one of those ways that if we can educate the patient ahead of time, they come in, they are ready, they've got questions at the ready, they are open to talking about it, they're very prepared and can make that whole process so much more efficient.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, does anyone have any questions?
One more thing
Any
before
questions? Marcus and I are, yeah.
before we get to the questions, I'm going to drop 2 links in the chat here. One of them is for all of our current aesthetic content, and one of it is for all of our current ocular content. And
Mhm,
it's literally all built on a web page on sliders. So if you're interested in any of those things, you want to check out what the content actually looks like, we
mhm,
want to make it available to you to be able to preview and determine if that's going to be helpful for your patients. And if it's not, two
mhm.
things. First of all, give us feedback. If we're missing something, or if you feel like this could be done differently, or it could be said in a different way. We everything did run through our medical advisory boards, who are some of the top industry key opinion leaders, and we really designed it in such a way to open the door to the consultation, not to get into the nitty gritty detail. But we welcome the feedback because we're always improving it. And on that note, I will say that we have started working on a wellness series as well. That's going to cover medical weight loss with semaglutides. Um, it's going to cover vitamin injections and hormone therapy and peptides. So everybody who's really focused on that, and big shout out to Dr. Franco and Dr. Poor, who've been involved in crafting custom solutions for their own practices. But it's going to be coming hopefully in Q4 this year. So and then yeah, I think those are the two things.
That's super exciting. That was actually going to be, I was going to kind of prompt you if you didn't. I was gonna be like, Marcus, is there anything new coming soon? Because
Always new.
I'm super excited about that myself. And yes, thank you to the practices who have been instrumental in getting us that feedback and helping us develop those things. So I did share on the screen while we're going through question and answer time as well. If you need to connect with us, if you have additional questions, if you want to learn more about any of the things that we talked about this evening, you can scan the QR code that's on here and it will connect you to our team. If you're already a client with us, that's okay. This can help you get connected with us to ask some more questions or reach out to the person on our team that you contact the most. We're always happy to help you with those things, but I'd love to see if there's any questions or I'm not sure. I think Cody was doing some polling here too to see how people were responding to some of the challenges they have in their practice. Kim did ask a question. She said, will journeys, this is Kim Poor from Beyond Skin, will journeys be available in or compatible with TouchMD in the future? So Marcus, you
Yeah, I
are
can answer that.
probably more versed in that area.
Yeah, so TouchMD is part of, I believe they're part of Nextech. And
Mhm.
so we're forging a stronger partnership with Nextech on the integration front. We haven't been able to have any conversations regarding that specifically at being an opportunity yet, Kim, but it's something that we've noted. So I will say Nextech just got a new CEO. So things are a bit chaotic over there right now. So a lot of the initiatives that we were moving forward with them. I think there's just a lot of like, hey, let's take a beat. We're trying to get our organization kind of figured out, and not in a bad way, right? There's just a lot of change that's happening right there. So conversations that have been happening have slowed. But as soon as we know anything, as soon as we can see any sort of line of sight into that opportunity, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I think the other thing too with TouchMD, and it's, they're always evolving as well. There's a lot of great features on that platform as well. Given the different ways that you can use a QR code and things like what we're doing with Vertly, there may be some workarounds for you to be able to have something on your TouchMD that's a slide that's got a QR code on it or something in that way
That's
in
a
the
good suggestion.
meantime. But absolutely. And then another question came in right on the heels of that. What about Simplast? What about integrating the libraries with Simplast?
Yeah, that's something we're actively working on. A lot of our focus on Simplast right now has been on the analytics piece, and
Yep.
we're trying to integrate more, because one of our biggest issues, is those of you who are current customers know, is data entry, and so we're trying to automate more ways that we can just bring data in, so that practices don't have to enter it manually, because we know that's a lot of effort. It does take a lot of work there, though, because as we all, and those of you who are customers know, Clarity, we have standardized data, but the
Mhm.
rest of the industry doesn't. So converting that and finding a way to be able to map things appropriately so it automatically goes in, that's a large part of our work with Simplast right now. Um, as far as integrating with the patient education side, we're actively working on that as well. Right, when appointments are scheduled, when inquiries happen, it's in the plan, and it's being worked on right now actively. I'm going to give you the classic, software developer answer, which is we don't know when yet, because that's what they tell me. But
Right.
it's something that is it's definitely a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We understand working in a practice. I did that for many years. We're running out of multiple systems. Our goal at Clarity is to help you streamline those things together and make your life a lot easier. And the more things that we can automate, the less mistakes are made, the less things that fall through the cracks. And so definitely those are always things that have our attention here. So any other questions? So I have a question that I will pose. I know that there are some practices that joined us this evening, and I know we have a number of others out there that kind of cross multiple verticals. So we did talk a little bit about aesthetics this evening. We did talk about ocular this evening. We also support dental practices on the engagement side as well. But Marcus, what about those practices that are crossing over into these things? This is really
Yeah.
becoming a lot more common. So what about those practices that are an ocular practice that are bringing aesthetics in, or a dental practice that's bringing aesthetics in, or branching into some of these other areas? How does engagement work for them? How can Clarity support them?
So engagement is going to work the same way. We are actually creating journeys specific for those hybrid kind of scenarios, for the dentists who are injecting Botox, for ocular plastics, that do that work on the eye but work around the eye as well. And so those are in the works as well. That'll be more specific to those use cases, for those patients, and we hope to have that coming out in Q4 as well. Um, but I think we're going to see more of it. Like, this is a trend that
Mhm.
is definitely growing, where we're seeing a lot of people, um, even open like little mini med spas. And so I think that the more that we can support that, and really the best thing for us is to receive feedback. Anything that you in the market are seeing, right? And like, hey, we need this, we need that. We need all of that feedback, because then we take that and then we implement that into the next release of things that we're doing. So the great thing about the patient education is that it doesn't stay the same. We built this, we built these journeys and this content to be malleable in a sense, right? So if something changes in the market, we can take sections out and replace them rather easily. And that gets the right information, the updated information in there, but also we can add new stuff all the time. So the more feedback that we get from everybody who's utilizing it, or if you see it and it's like, well, that doesn't have what I need, that's exactly the information that we need in order to be able to improve the product that you're subscribing to so that you can get the best benefit out of it.
All right, thank you very much. Any last questions before we wrap up for the evening? No, we do have one. Ola shared, she said, very exciting to hear about the weight loss coming. And how about the hormone therapy? But that is going to be part of
That's going
those
to be in there as well.
wellness journeys. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to share also, Marcus kind of touched on this a little bit though. Our clients also have access to our community, which is obviously kind of how we do these webinars, but there's a lot more to that. We are developing master classes as well for you and your team to take a deeper dive into some of these topics. And so wellness is a very hot topic right now. Our community has a great archived library of calls that we have brought on experts in the industry to talk about how things are going. And so if that is something that you are interested in as well, we definitely have things out there, not just these patient education modules, but also for your team to educate them even further into the things that you're bringing into your practice. So definitely our goal is to make sure that we are helping you educate your team, train them well, optimize the patient experience, and in turn, optimize the financial growth of your practice. So absolutely, Ola, we have those things coming. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. So Marcus, I think that's probably it for us this evening,
All
unless you
right.
have any last things to add.
No, I just want to encourage you all to keep keep working on your business. It's not, you know, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, it's a really hard thing, and it's something that we at Clarity, we take it really seriously. I mean, that's our mission, is to help you. And so anything that we can do, any feedback that you have for us, we want to make your lives easier. And I mean, our belief is that clarity leads to personal and professional fulfillment and growth. That's what we hang our hat on every day. And so anything that we can do to support you and to support that mission, that's what we're in it for.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We definitely look forward to continue working with all of you. Have a great
All right.
night.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Lindsay.
Bye, Marcus. Thank you.